See, there's a philosophy called Stoicism that entrepreneurs, artists, and just the everyday folk are using to make their lives better. And Stoicism talks a lot about death. And using death in Stoicism can lead you to become fulfilled, can stop you procrastinating, can remove depression and anxiety, and lots of stuff like that. Because Stoicism's main concept about death is to recognize and to focus on the fact that death is right around the corner and you could die at any moment. Now, you shouldn't take this as a depressing factor because it's only depressing if you think about it in a depressing way. Life is short. So recognize that by thinking about death, you're actually motivating yourself to live life to the fullest, and to also recognize that you have a short amount of time on this earth, so you should make the most of every single second of it and appreciate every single second of time that you have. Now, I'm going to talk about quite an advanced Stoic concept that Seneca talked about, but I've kind of taken a step further and given my own twist on it, making it applicable for you so that you can apply it in your life today. And I haven't heard this concept talked about anywhere else, so if you know where someone else is talking about it, or you know the proper name for this concept, because there's no way I'm the only person that's thought about it, then just let me know in the comments if someone else has talked about this before I have. But from my point of view, this is cutting edge philosophy that you probably won't have heard of before. So there's 3 different exercises in this main concept that I'm going to be talking to you about. And the first one is I want you to imagine right now that you're going to die in an hour's time. In 60 minutes, you will die. You know that you will die in the next 60 minutes, so you've got 60 minutes to live the life however you want to live. How do you think you'd live it? What do you think you'd do? How do you think you'd act? What would you tell people? What would you say? How would you think? How would you behave? Now let me read you a quote where I got this idea from in Stoicism. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice, and on freeing yourself from all other distractions. Yes, you can do this if you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life, and stop being aimless. Stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life? So if you're going to die in the next 60 minutes, and I really want you to imagine that this is true, I really want you to imagine that in an hour's time you will die and that will be it, your life is gone. Imagine that's true. And if that is the case, which by the way, it could happen, then all you have is the opportunity to be the best man that you can be. You see, if you're going to die in 60 minutes, you've got no time to go and get your goals. You've got no time to be the best in the world at something. You've got no goals to go bungee jumping. You've got no time for that. You've only got 60 minutes. All you have time for is to be the best man in the world. Let me read you another Stoicism quote. This is what you deserve. You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. You see, being good and being the best man that you can be is a choice that you can implement today. If you've only got 60 minutes to live, then the best route that you should take is being the best man that you can be. All you can do is being the best man that you can be. You've only got time to do that. Maybe you'll go and tell your family that you love them, but apart from that, all you can do is be the best man that you can be. And actually, going and telling your family that you love them is being the best man that you can be. So if you're going to die in the next 60 minutes, then your only option is to be the best man that you can be. So if you find yourself procrastinating, use this little exercise that you could die in 60 minutes just to think, if you're going to die in 60 minutes, do you want to spend the last 60 minutes of your life procrastinating? No, you don't. You want to spend those last 60 minutes doing something that gives you intrinsic pleasure, something that you love doing just for the fact that you love doing it, and you want to be the best man that you can be. So if you find yourself procrastinating, just think that you could die in 60 minutes, because in reality, you could die in 60 minutes. But let's get on to the second exercise. Now for the second exercise, I want you to imagine that you've now been told that you're going to die in 20 years. You've now got a life sentence for 20 years. You know that whatever age you are now, you've got 20 more years to live. If that's the case, then you have got time to become a master at something. You see, to become fulfilled, you've got to have 2 different things. First of all, you've got to have rapid self-improvement. You've got to grow yourself really fast into someone amazing. And the second thing that you need to become fulfilled is having an impact on other people's lives. You've got to become amazing at something that can have an impact on people's lives. This is what the neuroscientists say. These are the 2 things that you need to become fulfilled. Rapid personal growth and having an impact on people's lives. So, if you've got 20 years to live, then the thing that you should be doing, in my opinion, is you want to become amazing at an applicable skill. You want to become incredible at an applicable skill. Now, what does that mean? You want to practice, grow at one skill that has the potential to have an impact on other people's lives. Now, you could practice something like knitting, but I don't think that knitting is applicable at other people. I don't think that having an amazing skill at knitting, spending the next 20 years of your life getting a master at knitting, that won't impact other people's lives. So yes, you could do it, but I think that if you've got 20 years left to live, you should become a master at something that is applicable to other people. For example, you could become a master at psychology. You could dive deep into the brain. You could meditate every day, recognize how your brain works, and use that skill to have an impact on other people's lives. If you've got 20 years left to live, you should become a master at something that has an applicable skill that you can apply to other people's lives. That is what I think the goal of life should be. To become amazing, to become the best in the world at something that you can use, at a skill that you can use to impact other people's lives. Now, what would you do if you had 20 years left to live? What skill do you think you would take if you've got 20 years left to live? Now, I talked all about this, finding the skills that are true, the goals that are true to your heart, in a course called Kirby Goals, which I charged $97 for. But if you click the first link in the description, you can get access to my Kirby Action Procrastination Killer course, which has free bonus of the Kirby Goals course. So you can find the goals that are true to you in the first link in the description for the same price as a cup of coffee. But anyway, if you've got 20 years left to live, what do you think you would be doing? What do you want to become the best in the world at? What applicable skill do you think you'd want to be a master at? Ask yourself that question, and that is the second exercise. But let's get on to the third exercise. So the third and final exercise before I give you a summary and actionable step is, what would you do if you were going to die, in the next 2 years? You've got 2 years left to live. How would you live your life? Now, if you've got 2 years left to live, you don't have enough time to get the goal of becoming the best in the world at something. 2 years isn't enough to become a master at something. So if you've got 2 years left to live, then you'll want to be spending your time doing something that gives you intrinsic pleasure. Something that you get pleasure from doing in itself, not from the goals you receive. For example, this is in the book called Mastery, and he was a Aikido instructor, which is some form of martial arts. He said that to become a master at something, you can't have your main goal as being the extrinsic rewards of achieving the goal. If your goal is to become a football player, your main motivator shouldn't be the fact that when you become a professional, you'll become rich. Your main motivator shouldn't be the fact that when you become a professional, you'll be the best in the world. Your main motivator should come intrinsically because you get pleasure from practicing. So what is the thing that you get intrinsic pleasure from practicing? What is the thing that you would do every single day, even if you knew that you were going to die in 2 years, and even if you knew that you weren't going to become any goals at it? You weren't going to get any extrinsic pleasure, any extrinsic rewards, and that means rewards outside of you. What would you do in the next 2 years, every single day, that gives you pleasure just from doing it, that you love doing just for the fact of doing itself? Now, for some people, this is playing the piano. They don't care about getting the grades. They don't care about performing. They just love the fact of sitting down and practicing, and they love getting better. So what would you do in the next 2 years if you're going to die in the next 2 years? What do you do every single day that you do not for the extrinsic rewards, but because you love doing it? Now, I've given you 3 different exercises. You die in 20 years, you die in an hour, or you die in 2 years. Now, where does this all link in? Well, this is where I'm taking it a one step further from Stoicism, and I really want you to let me know if someone else has talked about this concept, because I've just come up with it myself. Now, you want to align all of these 3 different exercises. You want to align what you would do if you were going to die in an hour, if you're going to die in 20 years, and if you're going to die in 2 years. You want to align all of those things so that they're exactly the same thing. And that is the main concept. That is how you live your life to your fullest. As soon as you can align your life so that you would do the same thing, regardless of whether you're going to die in 20 years, regardless if you're going to die in an hour, that is when you're living your life to the fullest. Because that way, you're being a good man because you could die in an hour. You're living the best life that you could be. You're being the man that you're proud of because you could die in an hour. You're doing something that's intrinsically pleasurable to you. You're doing something that you love doing, not because you think that you could get external rewards like money or fame, but because you love doing it. And then you're also doing the same thing that in 20 years you'll become a master at, which is the exact formula for fulfillment. So when you can organize your life that you do the exact same thing every single day and every single second, regardless of when you're going to die, whether you're going to die in an hour, 2 years, or 20 years, that is how you live life to the fullest. And that is how you live a fulfilling life. And that is what your main goal should be. Now, before I give you the actionable step, before I let you tie this all into an actionable step, I want you to click the second link in the description, which is the Stoic Guide to Staying Calm no matter what happens to you. This is essential to becoming the master. This is essential to all the things I just talked about. You need to stay calm no matter what external things happens to you. You need to stay rock solid in who you are, so click the second link in the description to get access to that. But finally, I really want you to recognize that all of the exercises that you've done is completely true. You could die in an hour, you could die in a week, you could die in a month, you could die in a year, you could die in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you could die in 20 years, you could die in 50 years, you could die in 100 years if they come up with some new, I don't know, chemistry thing that means you could live forever, a new pill or whatever. It could happen. There's a tiny, tiny chance it happens, but it could happen. So I want you to live every single second of your life exactly the same, whether you're going to die in an hour's time, 2 years' time, or 10 years' time. So when you find yourself procrastinating, ask yourself, if I die in an hour's time, is this the man that I want to be? And chances are it's not. So when you find yourself procrastinating, I want you to recognize that death is short. Life is short. Death is short. Life is short, and it can be taken away from you any second. When you find yourself not doing something that you love doing, when you find yourself chasing something, chasing money or chasing fame, I want you to ask yourself, are you doing this for the external rewards, or are you doing this because it gives you intrinsic pleasure? And that's what you should be doing if you're going to die in 2 years' time. Now, if you're going to die in 20 years, ask yourself the question, are you pursuing the one thing in your life that gives you so much more energy than it takes? Are you pursuing the one thing in your life that you want to dedicate 20 years of your life to doing, to becoming a master at it? And then does that skill have an does that skill have benefits? Is that skill applicable, I should be saying, on other people's lives? If you're new around here, then make sure you like this video and subscribe if you're new. My name's Andrew Kirby, and I will see you in the next video. Remember to subscribe if you're new, so subscribe right now.